This presentation is for National 5 Practical Cookery. In this presentation, we will explore different types of questions that can be asked in the question paper. We will also look at example answers from past paper questions. The learning intentions are to explain the types of questions that will appear in a National 5 Practical Cookery question paper and to explain how the marks are awarded for answers. Success criteria: I can produce answers to exam questions and I can achieve full marks. Question paper content. In the two tables you will see all the different topics that can be covered in a question paper. Not every topic is covered in every question paper, however, any of these topics can come up in your question paper which you may set this year. Topics are kitchen equipment. So you need to know the uses of vegetable knife, cook's knife, palette knife, blender, peeler, grater, sieve, colander, whisk, rolling pin, a range of cutters, pastry brush, spatula, piping bag and nozzles, and a range of bakeware and cookware. Weighing and measuring equipment, you must also know how to use scales, measuring jug and measuring spoons. Food preparation techniques: peel, skin, chop, slice, dice, cut matchsticks, cut batons, segment, blanch, puree, marinate, strain, pass, grate, coat, mix, blend, whisk, cream, fold, rub in, knead, roll out, portion, shape, line, bake blind, glaze, pipe, and other appropriate skills associated with ingredients and/or recipes. Understanding cookery processes. The underlying principles and application of the following cookery processes could also be asked about: baking, boiling, grilling, poaching, shallow frying or stir frying, steaming, stewing. Current dietary advice relating to each of these cookery processes as well. The categories of ingredients you should know about are herbs, spices, flavourings and seasonings, dry ingredients, fruit and vegetables, meat or meat alternatives, poultry or poultry alternatives, dairy products or dairy alternatives, fish or seafood, and eggs. You should have an understanding of different types of ingredients. These could include characteristics of ingredients, which includes the origin of the ingredient, its use in cooking, links to traditional dishes, appearance or taste of the ingredient, current dietary advice relating to the selection and use of ingredients, the importance of sourcing sustainable ingredients, carrying out a costing exercise, safe storage and preparation of ingredients to reduce hazards and eliminate cross-contamination, planning meals, requisitioning equipment, time planning, how safety and hygiene will be observed, and service details. Cooking and finishing dishes, controlling the stages of the cookery processes and testing food for readiness, tasting and taking action where necessary, presenting the dishes appropriately with garnishes and decorations prepared using specialist techniques. Serving dishes, portioning the dishes consistently, selecting appropriate serving dishes or plates, ensuring the correct temperature and cleanliness of the serving dishes or plates, adhering to the service times. Evaluating dishes, this could relate to taste, texture, and presentation. Understanding safety and hygiene and working safely and hygienically. Understanding the principles of food safety and hygiene. Observing personal hygiene and kitchen hygiene. using equipment safely and hygienically, preparing, storing and serving food safely and hygienically, working in a safe and organised manner. Any of these topics could be asked about in your question paper. Preparing for a National 5 Practical Cookery question paper. There are 4 types of questions in the question paper. These are identified by a key command word. They could be state, name, give or identify, describe, explain, calculate, and evaluate. We will look at the different types of questions in more detail. The first type of question that can be asked is a state, name, give or identify question. These words indicate that a shorter answer is needed, and these questions are usually worth 1 mark. This question has been taken from question paper 2018. Identify the correct piece of equipment required to carry out the process of folding. I've highlighted the word identify. This is our command word, so we know this is going to be a short answer that is required to access the 1 mark. Your answer would be a metal tablespoon. This would access you the 1 mark available for this question. Example from question paper 2019. Name a garnish, including the preparation technique you would use for a fish risotto. I've highlighted the word name as this is the command word, so we know it's going to be a short answer again. I've also underlined preparation technique, as we need to include both of these to get the 1 mark. Possible answers include chopped dill, chopped parsley, a lemon wedge, a lemon butterfly or a lemon twist. If you had just written dill or parsley or lemon, you would get no marks. You need to include the preparation technique. So chopped dill, chopped parsley, lemon wedge, lemon butterfly, lemon twist to be able to access the 1 mark. Type 2 is describe. This means you have to provide a straightforward point of information linked to the keywords in the question. Example from question paper 2019. Describe 1 use of each of the following ingredients when used in the cooking of a savoury dish. I've highlighted the word describe and also underlined 1 use of each. So we have oats and we have honey. This question is worth 2 marks. So you need to describe a use of oats and describe a use for honey to access the 2 marks. Answer could be oats can be used as a thickening agent. This would access you 1 mark. And honey can be used to add sweetness. This would access you the 2nd mark. You would not be able to access both marks if you answered 2 points for oats or 2 points for honey. You have to answer 1 for each. Other possible answers could be for oats. Oats can be added to or used as a coating for fish or fish cakes when frying. Oats can be substituted for a portion of flour. Oats can be used to add texture to a savoury dish. And for honey, honey can be used as a sugar replacement. Honey can be used as a glaze for savoury dishes. Any of these points would access you 1 mark. Now remember, you would have to have a point for oats and a point for honey to access the 2 marks. You cannot have 2 points for oats and 2 points for honey. It must be 1 point for each. Example from a 2019 paper, question 2D. Describe 2 rules which must be followed when weighing and measuring sugar using the following equipment. I've highlighted the word describe. We know this is a describe question. And I've also highlighted 2 rules. You need to give 2 rules. So they are for measuring spoons and digital scales. Pause this video and attempt this question on your own, and then restart and see if your answer is correct. Possible answers for a measuring spoon. The measuring spoon should be overfilled with the sugar before levelling off using the back of a knife, 1 mark. Digital scales, make sure that the scales are set to the correct setting before use, 1 mark. Or you could have had, place the weighing bowl on the scales and press the button to 0 before adding the ingredients to the bowl. That could also have accessed you a mark. Again, for this question, you needed to have 1 point for measuring spoon and 1 point for digital scales. If you had 2 points for digital scales, you would not have accessed the 2 marks. Type 3 is an explain question. This means you have to provide more detailed points of information linked to the keywords in the question. This could include giving reasons for, explain the effects of. You should use the acronym BATS, because, as, therefore, or so. If you use one of these words in your answer, this will ensure that you are explaining your answer. Example from question paper 2019. Question 3D. Explain why flour is sieved before adding to a sponge mixture. 1 mark. I've highlighted the word explain, as this is our command word. As it is an explain question, you need to make sure you use the words because, as, therefore, or so in your answer to ensure you're explaining your answer. Possible answers could be: flour is sieved to aerate or add air into it, helping the sponge rise during baking. To remove lumps or make it into fine powder, therefore to give a smooth or lump-free sponge. Each of these points would be worth 1 mark. You must select one of these points as your answer. If you had given both points, you would not be awarded 2 marks. The question is only worth 1 mark. Example from question paper 2019. 3E. Explain 2 safety factors which should be observed when making apple sponge. This question is worth 2 marks. Explain is our command word, and I've highlighted 2 as you need to ensure you've got 2 points to access the 2 marks. As it is an explain question, you should use the word because, therefore, as, or so in your answer to ensure you're explaining. Pause this video now and have an attempt at the question before we go over the answers. Possible answers. Securing the chopping board when preparing the apple to prevent movement of board or knife slippage, therefore reducing the risk of an accident happening. Handling sharp knife or peeler correctly, as this will avoid cutting yourself when preparing the apple. Each of these is worth 1 mark. That would then access you your 2 marks for this question. Other possible answers could have been: checking the beaters are correctly secured in the electric mixer before turning on, therefore preventing accidentally trapping fingers, etc. Making sure hands are dry before switching on electrical power to the oven or the mixer, so preventing electrocution. Using oven gloves to place the sponge into an oven or remove the sponge from the oven, as this will help to prevent burns. Each of these points have used the word because, as, therefore, or so, which has ensured that the question has been explained. 1 mark awarded for each correct response, a total of 2 marks for this question. Type 4, calculate. You must use the information provided in the question to calculate the cost of the identified ingredients. There will always be a calculate question in the paper, and it is usually worth 7 or 8 marks. you can use a calculator for this part of the question. This costing question was taken from question paper 2018. The following ingredients are required to make 4 berry pavlovas: eggs, castor sugar, corn flour, white malt vinegar, double cream, icing sugar, vanilla essence, and raspberries. Table 1 below shows the unit cost for some of these ingredients. So eggs, for 6 of them, is £1.26. For 500 grams of castor sugar, it's £1.20. For 300 millilitres of double cream, it's £1.05. For 500 grams of icing sugar, it's £1. For 50 ml of vanilla essence, it's £1.50. And for 150 grams of raspberries, it is £2. Table 2 shows the ingredients required to make 4 portions of this dish. Calculate the cost of the ingredients required using this information and the formula below. The formula will always be given in the question paper, so you do not need to memorise this. Once you've costed the ingredients, you then need to calculate the total cost to make 4 portions of the dish and calculate the cost to make 1 portion of the dish, rounding your answer to the nearest pence. Let's explore the costing formula in a bit more detail. So the formula given is the cost divided by the total weight times by the quantity in the recipe, and that is going to give you the cost of the ingredient. When thinking about cost, this is the cost to buy the full packet of the ingredient. So for example, a pack of pasta may cost 99p. The total weight, so this is the weight of the full packet of food. So your 99p bag of pasta may have 500 grams of pasta in it. However, you do not require to use a full bag of pasta in your recipe. Therefore, you're going to times it by how much of the ingredient that you require in the recipe. It may just be 50 grams. And this will then give you the cost to buy the amount of ingredient that you require. Let's have a look at an example then. So for a 500 gram bag of castor sugar, it costs £1.20. So using the formula given, you would put 1.20 divided by 500, that's the £1.20 that it cost, divided by the 500 grams in the full pack. That would then give you an answer of 0.024. This is the amount per gram. You, however, need 125 grams, so you're going to times that 0.024 by 125. This then gives you an answer of 0.3. This is the correct answer, however, we need to put a pound sign in front of this, which turns it into 30p. So using the same formula, we're going to do the exact same for 2 eggs, 100 ml of double cream, 15 grams of icing sugar and 1 milliliter of vanilla essence and 120 grams of raspberries. So we've already done the castor sugar, the corn flour and the white malt vinegar are already done, so we don't need to do anything with them. So for the 2 eggs, it's 42p, 100 millilitres of double cream is 30p, 15 grams of icing sugar is 3p, 1 milliliter of vanilla essence is 3p, and 120 grams of raspberries is £1.60. To calculate the amount for 4 portions, all you need to do is add all of these costs together. This then gives you a total of £2.70. This would gain you a mark. To cost for 1 portion, all you're going to do is divide by 4. This will give you a total of 0.675. Make sure that you round up and put a pound sign in the front, which turns it into 68p. So that question is worth 8 marks. You're getting a mark for each of the ingredients you've costed, a cost of 4 portions and a cost for 1 portion. Example from a 2019 paper. The following ingredients are used to make an apple sponge: self-raising flour, castor sugar, margarine, eggs, milk, cooking apples, sultanas. Table 1 shows the unit cost for some of the ingredients used in the apple sponge. So table 1, for 1000 grams of self-raising flour it would be £1.28. For 250 grams of margarine it's 60 pence. For 12 eggs, £1.80. 600 grams of cooking apples is £1.32, and 500 grams of sultanas is £1.30. Table 2 shows the ingredients required to make 8 portions of the apple sponge. Calculate the cost of the ingredients required using the information and the formula below. So it's the same formula you've been given this time. As always, cost divided by the total weight times by the quantity required in the recipe to give you the cost of the ingredient. For table 2, you are requiring 500 grams of self-raising flour, 400 grams of caster sugar, 300 grams of margarine, 4 eggs, 120 millilitres of milk, 400 grams of cooking apples, and 100 grams of sultanas. Milk and caster sugar has already been done, so you just need to fill in the blanks. Pause this video now and see if you can use the formula and the tables to do the calculations. Now that you've done the calculations, we need to calculate the cost to make 8 portions of the apple sponge and calculate the cost to make 1 portion of the apple sponge. So let's go over the answers then. For 500 grams of self-raising flour, you should have had 64 pence. For 300 grams of margarine, you should have had 72 pence. For 4 eggs, you should have had 60 pence. For 400 grams of cooking apples, you should have had 88 pence. And 100 grams of sultanas were 26 pence. Each of these calculations would gain you a mark, and that's a total of 5 marks for that part of the question. The second part of the question asked you to cost the amount of 4 portions. If you added all of those costs together, you would get a total of £3.82. That would access you another mark. And finally, part C asked you to cost for 1 portion. So you take your £3.82, divide that by 8, and that gives you 48 pence. Please make sure when these questions come up in the exam paper that you look to see how much you are costing for. It may be 8 portions, it may be 6 portions, it may be 4 portions. So make sure that you read the question carefully and don't make any silly mistakes. The last type of question that can be asked is an evaluate question. In an evaluate question, you should make a number of evaluative comments which make a judgment based on the information provided. Use this rule to ensure you are making the judgment clear. For example, evaluate the suitability of macaroni cheese for a Scottish themed restaurant. You need to use the acronym FOC, fact, opinion and consequence. For F, you need to give a fact about the question. So the restaurant could use locally sourced cheese for the macaroni. That is a fact. Opinion. So whether you think this is good or this is bad. So in this case, this is good. And C, a consequence. So this is basically asking you why. This will support the local economy. So FOC, fact, opinion, consequence. Following this will allow you to access the 1 mark. This example was taken from the Specimen paper, which you can find on the SQA website. Question 2C. Evaluate the effect on the colour, flavour or texture if the following ingredients are used in a recipe for macaroni cheese. I've highlighted the word evaluate in red as this is your command word, and I've also highlighted colour, flavour or texture as you need to refer your answer back to one of these 3. So we've got red mature cheddar cheese, wholemeal flour and dried mustard. Again, this is worth 3 marks. So for the red mature cheddar cheese, we're going to use the acronym FOC, fact, opinion and consequence. So a fact about cheddar cheese: red mature cheddar cheese has a strong taste. So this is linking back to the flavour. Opinion: this would be good. Why? as it will add more flavour to the macaroni cheese. That would access you 1 mark. So your fact, your opinion and your consequence, relating it back to taste, texture or colour. For wholemeal flour, again we need to think about taste, texture or colour and think about a fact. So your fact could be wholemeal flour contains bran. Opinion, this is bad in this case, as it would spoil the texture of the cheese sauce. 1 mark. Dried mustard. Fact, dry mustard has a very strong taste. Opinion, this would be good, as the macaroni cheese may taste bland without it. This is an evaluative comment. You're given a fact, an opinion and a consequence, and that is accessing you 1 mark. In total, this question is worth 3 marks. Make sure you give 3 evaluative comments. Example 2, which is from question paper 2019. Question 2b. Evaluate the effect on the taste or appearance of the following ingredients being added to a potato mash. Freshly chopped chives, Worcestershire sauce and whole grain mustard. I've highlighted the word evaluate, so we know that we need to use the acronym FOC, fact, opinion and consequence. I've also underlined taste or appearance, so we need to relate the question back to either taste or appearance. The previous question asked for taste, appearance or flavour, so make sure again that you read the question very carefully so that you know what you need to relate your question back to. For freshly chopped chives, you could have had chives are green in colour. This is good, as it will contrast with the white of the mash, making it more attractive. 1 mark. Worcestershire sauce. Fact could be Worcestershire sauce has a dark colour. Opinion, this is not good. Consequence, as it would make the mash darker in colour and less attractive. 1 mark. Whole grain mustard, again FOC, fact, opinion and consequence. Fact could be whole grain mustard has a hot or spicy flavour. Opinion, this would be good, as it would complement the blandness of the mash. Again, 1 mark. So these 3 points would access you the 3 marks for this question. Combined questions. Some questions will include 2 command words. This will require you to answer more than 1 point within the same question. For example, identify and explain, identify and give, describe and explain. Example 2b from the specimen paper. Identify 3 different garnishes which would improve the appearance of a savoury quiche. Give the method of preparation for each garnish. So here we have highlighted identify and give. These are our key command words. I've also underlined 3 as you need to give 3 points to access the 3 marks. Examples could be, for garnish 1, you could have parsley and the preparation technique could be finely chopped. Garnish 2 could be tomato and the preparation technique could be cut into wedges. Garnish 3 could be spring onion and the preparation technique could be sliced. Each garnish would access you 1 mark along with the preparation technique. Question 1a from the specimen paper. A local cafe is increasing its range of baked items and has created the following recipe. Lemon and blueberry muffins. 200 grams of butter, 500 grams of self-raising flour, 10 milliliters of bicarbonate of soda, 200 grams of caster sugar, 200 grams of blueberries, 2 lemon zests, free-range eggs 4, 300 millilitres of natural yogurt, 30 millilitres of milk, and 60 millilitres of lemon curd. Describe 3 changes that could be made to this recipe to meet current dietary advice, and explain a different way each change you have described helps to meet current dietary advice. So the command words here are describe and explain. 3 is also in bold, as you need to have 3 different changes that could be made to the recipe to access the 6 marks. Change 1 could be reduce the amount of sugar in the muffins. You would then need to explain this. To reduce the amount of free sugars in the diet and therefore helping to contribute to the dietary goal of reducing sugar in the diet. Make sure that your answer refers back to current dietary advice, which could be the dietary goals. This change in explanation would give you 2 marks. 1 mark for the change and 1 mark for a correct explanation. Change 2 could be change the flour to wholemeal flour. Explanation could be to increase the amount of fibre in the muffins, meeting the dietary goal of increasing fibre in the diet. 1 mark for your change and 1 mark for the explanation, giving you a total of 2 marks. Change 3 could be change butter to a vegetable oil. Explanation could be to reduce the saturated fat content of the muffin, helping to meet the dietary goal of decreasing fat in the diet. 1 mark for changing butter to vegetable oil and another mark for your explanation. So our learning intentions were to explain the types of questions that will appear in a National 5 hospitality question paper and to explain how marks are awarded for answers. The success criteria was I can produce answers to exam questions that achieve full marks. Next steps. You can access National 5 past papers and marking instructions on the SQA website. Just type in SQA National 5 Practical Cookery Past Papers into your search bar and the first result will take you to the page. Past papers provide a great way to see the standard of detail and work that is required to gain maximum marks. They can be used in several ways. Use with the marking schemes to write out several versions of acceptable answers. Try and sit the exam at home and then mark your own answers. Or look over several years of papers and try to find common questions and/or content. Don't forget, you can always ask your teacher for help if you are struggling. Thanks for listening and good luck in your question paper.